That fella couldn't do anything. He couldn't even kneel to pray. And he got saved. Are you saved? That fella couldn't join the church. He couldn't join the church. He couldn't get baptized. He couldn't get baptized. He woke up with God. He woke up with the devil. Are you saved? So that fella didn't take the sacraments, didn't take the sacraments. Didn't say the rosary, didn't take the rosary. Didn't tithe, didn't tithe. He went to heaven, he went to hell. You saved? Didn't keep the law, he didn't keep the law. He broke the commandments, he broke the commandments. He didn't keep the golden rule, he didn't keep the golden rule. He woke up in glory, he woke up in the pit. Are you saved? You're saved. If you're not saved, you're over here or you're over here. You sure ain't in the middle. He said, Lord, remember me, thou comest thy kingdom. And Jesus turned to him and said, verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be saved. It's like that. You have been saved? If you ever saved, you were saved like that.
All right. In this video, I want to talk about something I see here that I think lets us know when the rapture is going to happen. Now, the only issue is the exact timing around this event. So, let me explain. I was reading through here in Luke chapter 21. And you got to understand that the telling of this warning in Luke 21 is different from the warning in Matthew 24. Right? It's talking about the same thing, but two different events. Right? This one is talking about when the armies compass around Jerusalem, which happened in 70 AD. Right? Well, in Matthew 24, it's talking about the abomination of desolation, which did not happen in 70 AD. It's a future event in a temple that is not yet built. Because Jesus talks about, hey, when you see the abomination of desolation, he doesn't say when you see armies compass about Jerusalem. He says, no, you see that man of sin, the son of perdition, the lawless one, claim to be God and above all gods in the temple. Well, then you know to get out of there, right? But that never happened in 70 AD. And we actually are told a bit about it in Revelation, which was written in 90 AD. Around 20 years after the second temple was destroyed. So the events in Matthew 24 have to do with something in the future. Well, in Matthew 21, it's talking about events that from the time it was written was in the future, but from our time it was in the past. This is talking about 70 AD. But there's something that's said here that should really stick out. So let's read it here. Luke 21 at verse 20 it says, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. Excuse me. So we see here that this is exactly what the Christians did when the Roman armies compassed Jerusalem. They left. They obeyed Jesus when they saw this. Right? That's why the Christians were not harmed in that. And it's a depiction, again, of the Christians being taken out of the way, and that the wrath of God is poured out on the Jews and Gentiles. As it says here, verse 22, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. See, the vengeance is tied to the wrath of God, which Christians are not partaking of. Right? A little hint there, but that's not the hint I wanted to focus on. Goes on to say, verse 23, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. You see again, wrath. But Christians are not appointed to wrath. Right? And that's exactly what happened. The Christians were taken out of the city and did not partake of the wrath and vengeance of God. So there's a little tidbit letting you know the Christians leave before this, right? And the funny thing is that the Christians left, and Rome besieged Jerusalem for 7 years. So you see the Christians taken out before the 7-year time of Jacob's trouble, because the Jews went through this, not the Christians. See, if you know the Word of God, you know a little bit about history, you see the types and shadows. Right? So the main thing I actually wanted to focus on is what's said here at verse 24. It says, "And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles shall be fulfilled." This is big. And I'll explain. Because this basically tells us when we're going home. Because we're going home when the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. Because when the time of the Gentiles is filled is when things turn back to Israel, the Hebrews, the Jews. And that doesn't happen until the time of grace is up. And they start up Daniel's 70th week, which has to do with Daniel's people. Again, being Israel, the Hebrews, the Jews, not the Gentiles, not the Christian church. But I'm going to come back to this. There was one more thing I wanted to point out in this chapter here, where the same thing we're told in Matthew 24, we're told in Luke 21, verses 29 through 33, it tells us about the fig tree generation. So when we see Israel come back, you know that summer is nigh, which could be a representation of when the rapture would take place, the time of the summer fruits, not at Shavuot, but at Pentecost, which is a completely different feast, which would be later on. You would have the 3 harvests of Shavuot. You would have the wheat, and then you would have the summer fruits, and then you would have later on the olives for the oil, right? And before that, you would have the barley, before the wheat. So here we know summer is nigh. It could be a reference to a rapture point, as it is similar to the Song of Solomon, where the bride is being taken when the summer fruits are ripe. All right? Not to mention some other mentions of that, where is it, Ezekiel, where he sees some things going on, and he's asked what he sees, and he sees a basket of summer fruit. So it might have something to do with all that, letting us know when this is going to happen. But what I want to focus on is actually verses 34 through 36. It says, "And take heed to yourselves that at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come upon all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth." So you see, this day is going to come as a snare, like a trap, on all those that dwell on the earth. Right? So if you're on the earth, it's going to come upon you. That's why it says in verse 26, "Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man." You see that there? So he's telling you that all these things are going to come upon all those that dwell on the earth. Pray that you escape, so you're not dwelling on the earth. All right? Just like you come over here to Revelation chapter 3, talking to the church of Philadelphia, verses 7 through 13. And at verse 10 he says, "Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth." Right? Again, a reference to, hey, this thing that's going to come upon the whole earth, I'm going to take you off the earth, so you're not going to be dwelling on it. So it's not going to come upon you. All right? But back to Luke 21:24, where it says that Jerusalem's going to be trodden underfoot until the time of the Gentiles is done. Now, you may say Israel has Jerusalem. Not completely and totally. Not to mention the Temple Mount, where they have the what is it, the Dome of the Rock, Dome of the Mosque there, a Muslim little temple shrine that says things like God has no son on it and things like that. That's basically an abomination of desolation set up right there. And prophecies concerning that shows that it should be coming down. I have to go back and take a look. I don't know if it was 2025 that it came up to. But if you look at Daniel 12 on the timing of when the sacrifices were stopped, when Babylon took over Israel, to the setting up of the abomination of desolation, in that time frame that it gives you all the way up until around 688-ish, when they actually set up the Dome of the Rock, the abomination of desolation, you could say, a type, a shadow of it. And then it says a time from there until the end brings us either to when Israel came back as a nation in 1948, or it brings us somewhere to 2020 something. I can't remember what it is. So I'm just going to leave it as that. Sorry to leave that kind of open-ended, but maybe you can go look that up yourself. But anyway, it was just like I was saying about, I think the temple, the third temple being built, I think that's the sign of when the rapture is going to happen. So when we see the Dome of the Rock either get blown up by an accidental missile fired from like Iran or Hamas or something, or if Israel does it, or if there's an earthquake and it comes down, or they do some kind of peace treaty to take it down, well, we know the time of the Gentiles is up. And when Israel gets full control of Jerusalem, the time of the Gentiles is up. And that means two things. It means two things. It actually means, for one, we're close, right? But yeah, sorry, I'm getting distracted by what I want to read here, but I'll look at that in a second. But it means two things. It means either, one, we don't really know when it's going to happen. But second, we know when it's going to happen. And you may be saying, what are you talking about? Yeah, the rapture. You see, if we're going to be raptured right before the Dome of the Mosque comes down, or Dome of the Rock, whatever it's called, if we're going to be raptured right when that happens, we might not know, because it could happen, for all we know. Right now, Iran, for example, starts launching a whole boatload of missiles, and one of them ends up hitting accidentally, quote unquote, accidentally hits the Dome of the Rock, or those missiles cause an earthquake that ends up breaking down the Dome of the Rock. And as soon as that happens, that's a sign of the time of the Gentiles is up. All of a sudden, we go, right? And then they're going to be like, all right, we're going to build the third temple there now, right? So that's why we don't know, which kind of sucks. But we know it could happen at any time, right? That could happen at any time. I wouldn't be surprised if it's some kind of Hanukkah thing, right? A rededication of the temple. And that's when the Dome of the Rock goes down and they decide they're going to rebuild the temple, right? It could happen on an appointed time like that. But ultimately, we don't know. But that's another thing. The rapture doesn't have to happen as soon as the Dome of the Rock comes down. The Dome of the Rock could come down. We see it. Then we know, whoa, we're about to go. Because now Israel's going to have full control. The Gentiles are going to be pushed out. When we see that, we know it's about to happen. And then they say, all right, we're going to build the temple. And it's either right when they start building it, or sometime by the time they finish it, we're out of here. I believe that's the sign for us to know when we're leaving. Right? And to wrap up this video, I think it's here in Romans 11. Yes, that's already what I have highlighted. Verse 25, it says, "For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in." All right? Until. So Israel is blind until the time of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Well, what do we read here in Luke 21:24 again? It says that Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So as soon as Gentiles or non-Jews, non-Hebrews, lose control of the city of Jerusalem completely and totally, which I think is symbolized by the Dome of the Rock, then we know the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled when Israel gets complete control. Right? Complete control of Jerusalem and the temple area. When they have that, the time of the Gentiles is done. Blindness is going to be lifted from Israel. And I think part of that blindness that's lifted is that a rapture happens. And that's going to be something to be like, what? What just happened? And it's going to be a spiritual shift in the world. Right? Kind of like the light right now is to the Christians. But when we're taken up, the light is given back to Israel, and all of a sudden they can see. Right? It's kind of like, you think of it like this. Think of it like Christians are Elijah, which must come first to pave the way for the Messiah. And Israel is like Elisha, like Elijah with a J and Elisha with a SH, right? And what happened in their story? Elijah with a J was taken up in a whirlwind, and Elisha received the double portion of the Spirit to then go do double the miracles that Elijah did. All right? So, I think this is very close to happening. But again, like I said, this leads us to two possibilities. We don't know, right? It leaves us in the same boat we've already been in. It's going to happen at any time. But we know that this is going to happen, right? We're on the verge of this happening, all right? And that could mean in another year or two. It could be. But we see this about to happen, right? Netanyahu's becoming a lot bolder, and they don't have a lot of time while they have Trump in office backing him. So you know they're probably going to want to get this done before maybe even midterms that are coming up, yet alone the next election, right? They probably want to get it done now. But again, you know, they could end up having to delay it for one reason or another. But we might not know exactly when that happens, and we might be going either right before it happens or right as it happens, right? Like a part of us going up, that's what causes the Dome of the Rock to crumble, right? It could be that, where it truly was an act of God, right? So we don't know when. It could be right now, right? Which is exciting. But at the same time, maybe that crumbling of the Dome of the Rock lets us know the time of the Gentiles is up. We're going any moment after that. Especially if they're talking about, all right, now we're taking over and we're building the temple. Right? Because I think that's what we need to be watching for. Right? People are looking at all these different things, and they're always picking these certain feast days and certain days and even certain years. But I think I got it figured out here. And this is where it's one of those things where, again, it's like you don't know the day or hour, right? And I can't tell you the day and hour, but I'm pretty dang sure that it's tied to that Dome of the Rock coming down and the third temple being built. That's the end of the time of the Gentiles. That is when the rapture is going to happen and blindness is going to be lifted from Israel. All right? I think that's what where we're at, which gets me very excited, get me very hopeful, and that's why I wanted to share it with you guys, because it was interesting. Because this morning I was praying to God, and I was like, I pray, Father, that you would exhort us, help us keep going, right? Give us something to keep going. And I wasn't thinking something like this, right? I was thinking, just something to help us through the day, right? But this might help me get through a few days, right? I hope it would help you get through a few days, at least maybe a couple weeks, right? This is pretty exciting, and hopefully I come back to this and remember this. God keeps bringing to my remembrance how close it is. This is soon, right? So now I can talk about the rapture being soon, and I'm not setting a date. So I shouldn't be ticking off anybody, right? Because I'm not setting a day, an hour. I'm not even setting a month or year. I'm not even picking a feast day. This could happen on a feast day. But then again, it could happen right now. I don't know, right? But I think I know. I know what's tied around it. And I hope this is encouraging to you. I hope you can see what I see here. And that you let me know if you see anything else that connects to this. Right? Because there's another thing I wanted to put in here. To see if there's anything else that mentions about. Isn't full one letter, one L? I think I spelled that wrong. Always doubt him. Yeah, it's one L. Oh, I put Gentile instead of Gentiles. All right. So, how come it doesn't bring up Romans 11? Is it worded differently? Let's put filled. See if there's anything that comes with that. Nope. All right, so let's put nations. Because sometimes instead of Gentile, it says nations. Oh, yeah, and mentions Gentiles and nations in Luke 21:24. Revelation 20, verse 3. 1,000 years fulfilled. All right, so nothing else that I can think of that shows that. So that's about that concerning the Gentiles, the time of the Gentiles being fulfilled. Luke mentions it. Paul mentions it. And what you need to understand at the time of the Gentiles, it has a huge tie into the time of grace. Like the end of the time of the Gentiles is also tied into the end of the time of grace. Right? I'm not saying that the start of the time of the Gentiles is the start of the time of grace, but they both end at the same time, which is very convenient. Because now we know when it's going to happen. We know and we don't know, which is awesome and fun and weird and confusing. But anyway, I'll stop rambling and having fun with this. Thank you for your time. I hope you got excited about this, because I'm really excited about it. It's got me very hopeful. I'll be smiling all day. I hope you are too. So thanks for watching. Take care. May God bless you and yours.
All right, it's the end of the video, and I figured I would do an ending segment to my video so I don't have to keep repeating myself, but I do want to remind you to do what Isaiah said to do and seek out the book of the Lord and read it, putting line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, doing what Paul said, and studying the word, showing yourself approved unto God, rightly dividing the word of truth. And if you read English, that would be the KJV. And then do what John has Jesus recorded telling the church of Philadelphia, and keep his word, preserve it, protect it, hide it in your hearts, and not deny his name. And then Jesus will never be able to tell you do err not knowing the scriptures, and he'll keep you from the hour of temptation, which is going to come upon all those that dwell upon the earth here shortly. And with that being said, I'd like to ask you for your support. You watching the video all the way to the end helps out a lot, but if you could like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, share the video, share the channel, interact in the comments section. These things help out a lot, especially with people telling me that their likes are not being registered, that they get unsubscribed, and all kinds of other ways being shadow banned. Your help in this way was greatly appreciated. And if you're able to give me a little bit more time and pray to our Heavenly Father that He keeps this ministry going and He uses it to reach those who He wants to reach, to get the truth out to the world, to make it a bright light, and to feed His sheep, to feed His children, even to bring forth more children, and that He would watch over all of us, His born-again believers, and take care of us, provide for us, and protect us, even after He comes and gets us, which looks like it's going to be real soon. And just to amen in Jesus' name to that should be all we need. But if you could help out some more, I know times are rough and they look like they're getting rougher, but if you're able to support financially, there's a few ways you can do so in the info description box, such as PayPal, Venmo, and there's a couple other ways you can support if you so choose to do so, which would make sure I can keep this ministry going longer than the foreseeable future, because this kind of support has been drying up there. It's pretty much non-existent lately. So if you could help out in that way, it would be greatly appreciated to make sure I can keep doing this. But if you could at least pray, I know God will provide. And sometimes it's a change of ministry, so maybe it won't be a ministry online anymore. But hey, if you want to keep seeing this stuff, pray. And with all that being said, thank you so much again for your time and attention, for watching this video all the way through. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one, and may God bless you and yours.